So you just finished a beautiful new comic to share with the world. But you might be asking yourself, how do I get people to look at my beautiful new comic? Well, look no further, my friends, than Comic-Con artist alleys, and Indie Comic-Con artist alleys, and art fairs, and festivals. Yes, they all count. Heck, you might have even attended one of these events yourself. But behind the table, my friends, it is a totally different game. You'll be fighting all kinds of new foes. Customers that talk for 2 hours at your table, holding up a line. Discovering some kid just stole all of your business cards. Debit cards with no chip reader. No! It's a battlefield. But in my experience, they're also a ton of fun. Hey everyone, Gabriel Joy here, and Comic-Cons have been some of the most exciting and fulfilling experiences that I've had as an artist in the past couple of years. And they're also such a fantastic opportunity to network and meet other artists in your field and in your local community. There's a reason that cons have been going on for decades and continue to pop up in places all over the world. Now, while I am pretty new to the comics game, I believe I've also amassed a fair share of tabling experience over the last couple of years, and I would like to share with you some of my tips and tricks, if you will. So when you get your beautiful new table at your first con, you'll be ready for whatever that big convention throws at you. These tips have been adapted from a document that I wrote for my friend Suubi, who was recently tabling at their first con, and I appreciate their willingness to allow me to share these tips with the rest of y'all. But first things first, how do you even find cons? Well, I'm really lucky to be based here in New England. Most of the cons that I've been to are in the Boston area. There's a really strong focus on books and education, especially one that's growing around comics here, which is really, really cool. But I would really just do a quick Google search if you don't know any cons in your area. Usually big cities host a con every year, and sometimes libraries and schools host small art festivals too. Look them up and explore their websites. If you can't find an application, see if you can reach out or email the people in charge. And I've also heard some folks who've, easier said than done, but I have heard of some folks who have started their own cons in their own neighborhood as well. Try to go to cons in cities where you have friends or family you can stay with, or get public transportation to. Do your research. It's not super clear cut, but it is something to keep in mind. You'll notice that there will be a through line throughout this entire video, which is to save money where you can, but we'll come back to that. This brings me to something that also keep in mind, tabling cost. The table that you acquire at a con can range anywhere from free to hundreds to thousands of dollars. But pro tip, for your first con, lean towards the free side. If you're a student, see if there's any student discounts. Get a smaller table or a half table. If you don't have a ton of stuff to sell, it is okay. You don't want to come out of your first con losing more money than you have to. Or better yet, just not losing any money at all would be great. So let's talk about inventory. Inventory is all that stuff you'll be selling at your table. Books, zines, prints, sometimes stickers, pins, bookmarks, all those things. And one of the big questions that I had at the beginning of my con-going career was, how do you know how much stuff you should order? And the sad news is, there really is no surefire way to know how much of something you will sell until you sell it. It is quite annoying. It is quite annoying. My dad is a business guy, and he told me something like, you have to test stuff on the market first, and then you know for the future if you want to get more of that one product over others. And if you can find cheap ways of creating products, for example, printing on your school printer, or stapling and folding comics on your own instead of using a service, using sticker sheets, again, on like a school printer or something, the less likely you'll come out at a loss. And if you sell out of certain products at a con, that's awesome. Just make more next time. I've only sold out of an item twice in my con going experience, so stock that remains of other items I just take to the next con, or I sell them online, or I give them to my friends. But you'll have to market test them first. It's just the way of the game. If something sells really well one show, awesome. Get more and consider raising the price a little if people still want them. If something sells poorly, drop the price next time, or add them in as a freebie with every purchase. It's a supply and demand thing. Embrace your inner business person. Also, if there's a con that you're going to, consider reaching out to other artists who might also be at the show. See if Any Kind veterans will tell you how much they bring to their shows. Some things sell better at different cons than others. Sometimes books sell really well at a show. Other times stickers sell well at a show. And getting inside information from other exhibitors about what sells best usually can be really helpful. I will say that a big mainstream con like a fan expo or a New York Comic Con or an anime con, artists tend to do really well with art related to fandom spaces. So in other words, fan art does really well at these places. And indie cons like Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo, MICE, or Harlem's Black Comic Con, these are two cons that I've tabled at before, they tend to do really well with original work. But again, as much as I hate to say it, the only surefire way to know how well something is going to do is to test it on the market over and over and over again. So find cheap ways to produce things, especially out of the gate. Which brings me to, how do you price things? A good rule of thumb is to figure out a thing called profit margin. It sounds fancy and scary, but basically it is the percentage of money that you make on every dollar that you get at your table. The higher the margin is, the more money you're making. So you can calculate this by taking your revenue, so how much money you make, and subtracting the cost it took to make that product. Then you divide all of that by your revenue and multiply it by 100, which results in a percentage. I apologize in advance for the amount of math that is in this video. It will never happen again, I promise. A good profit margin is 20% or higher. And since we're making pretty small products at Comic Cons, you can have kind of insane profit margins of like 50% or more. It's just good to check that if you're interested in making money and making a profit, that you adjust the price to make sure that you're not losing money. Speaking of money again, in my experience, people seem very drawn to easily divisible numbers, like $5 and $10 and $20. This is all US dollars, by the way, but I don't know, it might work in other currencies too. This is easier for you, so you don't have to spend so much time counting change, but also for the folks who bring in change in 20s, 5s, and 10s. I have a deal at my table that you can buy one sticker for $3 or two for $5. People like that extra incentive, so I tend to double up on those sales a lot. Another thing I do is I sell my book Kid Chrysalis Butterfly Warrior for $17, and then I throw in a $3 sticker, and then it's an even 20. See? Make it easy for your customers. Yes. Again, inner business person. If you have a chance to visit some cons as an attendee, take note at how much people sell things for based on the type of product and material and things like that. Ask people where they made their products or if they made them themselves. It might sound kind of awkward, but more than likely artists will be so down to share with you where they got their stuff. So I highly recommend it. And this leads very nicely into, who are my go-to vendors for printing? Welcome to my table, by the way. For my smaller books, I use Comics WellSpring. They have really good prices for comics that are under 50 pages, work really well in black and white, and they have a really good staff that are very easy to work with. Then we have Mixam. I mentioned them here before on my channel, but they're really fantastic, a little more expensive, but really good for books that are bigger than 50 pages, and they have really high quality spines and materials. For stickers, I use Sticker App. Super high quality, waterproof, great staff, and they almost always give me extra stickers for no reason. I also just want to mention I know some people who have bought sticker paper online for cheap, and then they run it through like a school printer or through their own printer, though probably less high quality and probably not waterproof. Don't use Sticker Mule, they are homophobic. And for postcards, I use good old-fashioned FedEx Office Print and Ship Center. I used to use them a lot back in the day for printing posters and flyers. They're really fast and do really cheap print jobs. Come in with an idea of the type of paper that you want and they'll price it. I think I printed out about $50 worth of postcards 3 years ago, and I'm still selling that stock, so there's so many. Also, if you want to print banners at your table, that's a really good place to do it as well. I have no idea where these Superdog pins are from. My parents got me these for a graduation present one year, and I bring them to every show. I actually don't have business cards at the moment, but I did find this one. This is one of the first business cards I ever made while I was tabling, and I printed these on Move. And they're super high quality. You can get them in bulk. It's pretty cheap, and they last a while. Thank you to my friend Wendy for the recommendation, but I should probably get some more business cards soon. And last but not least, just to show you what I'm talking about, all of these things were printed on my school printer. Literally regular copy paper, some cardstock for the covers. They can go a long way. Don't be afraid to print and fold and cut and staple mini comics yourself. Drain your school of its resources for art! Also, these bookmarks were very fun. They're just comic strips on the back of each one. And my Instagram, of course. Don't be afraid to put your Instagram on stuff too, so people know where to follow you at. Okay, and back to the drawing. Also, as a related note to business cards, don't leave cards out on front of your table or they'll be gone by the end of the day. You gotta get people to earn the free stuff. Make sure they talk to you or read your work. Then, if they don't buy anything, you can be like, hey, here's where you can find more of my work. Throw them a business card. Thanks so much for stopping by. That way you're not losing business cards super fast and you're making meaningful connections. Very important. I probably will bring that up again later. So, aside from the products themselves, what are other materials that you might want to prep for tabling? This one is very much up to you. There's so many great setups out there, and just looking up artist alley table setups, like on Pinterest or something, you'll find so many great ideas. But please start small. Do not blow the bank on your first con if you do not have to. It's an investing game. Make a profit and then you upgrade for the next con. I've seen people with little bookshelves and those retail cage looking things for posters, but you don't necessarily need those things your first time around, unless you're like focused on selling those kinds of products. But with that in mind, here are some recommendations that I think are great to get started. Get a tablecloth or a blanket that you never use. A suitcase for carrying all your goodies. Prep your payment options. It's good to bring little change like 10s, 5s, 1s in a little pack or another little bag. Sometimes table mates and neighbors are also very nice and they can probably give you change if you need as well. You don't have to, but I also think it's a good idea to invest in a Square card chip reader. They're pretty cheap and great for the folks who bring in credit cards or debit cards. Otherwise, if you have the Square app on your smartphone, you can accept most cards with that little Wi-Fi looking symbol on them. That means that they use tap to pay. Making sure that you have things like Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, or all of the above can also be really great. If you end up with a big table, consider filling the space with a little activity. Having like a big piece of paper for people to draw on, or a silly voting activity, or a raffle box, or another activity can be a great way to fill up the space and create a very engaging environment. Which, as a little side note, you can table however you like you do not have to this is not the only way to table. But that being said, I think the best way to table is to make connections. Stand up at your table, talk to people, talk to your neighbors, compliment them, like genuine compliments, don't fake compliments, but yeah, throw compliments out there. Man, you're at a con. There's so many cool cosplays and cool outfits to compliment. Ask questions like what kind of comics people like or how they're enjoying the event. Then ask them if they've come to this con before or it's their first time. Encourage people to pick up and read your comics. A lot of tabling is social, so lean into starting conversations and engaging con-goers. Easier said than done. I know a lot of us are introverts, but a little can go a long way. All right, side note over, thank you. Other things that you might want to think about bringing are maybe a little tip jar and a little signage for your products too. It can be very fun to make. I actually got an idea from a recent con that I tabled at, was just to make a list of all your products and your prices and just put it like at the front of your table so that people, when they're walking by, can look at it. I'm gonna try this out and I will let you know how it goes. Probably so obvious, but bring snacks and water. You'll be talking to a lot of people, so it's important to stay satiated. Bringing lunch might be worth it too, or just ask if the con is going to have food while on site. There's been a few cons I've been to where they order pizza for everyone, or there's like another place on site where you can get food, like food trucks. So just good to ask in advance to see what people will have. Also, make sure your phone is charged. I know this sounds like so obvious, but again, it's wild how many things can just slip through the cracks when you're like super focused on like all the more con-centric things. You still gotta take care of yourself. Also, if you do wanna go explore the con for yourself, you're totally allowed to leave your table. Maybe bring a little "Be Back Soon" sign or an extra blanket or tablecloth to cover your things so people don't mess with anything. Or you can ask your tabling neighbors to watch your stuff too. I just suggest always carry your valuables with you. So any cash that you have, any cash that you make sure that's like on you at all time and you're not just leaving that at your table. Take inventory before you show. You can try to keep track of the show, or you can just count how many you sold after. It's just good practice and will help you know what sold best so you can go make more of what sold best. And make sure to give yourself enough time before the show so you can print everything you need. Obvious again, but I've had some pretty close calls with delayed shipments, so better safe than sorry. Also, make an announcement on your social media before the show. Tell people you're going to be there so they can come visit you. And I started a very classy university discount for my friends that I go to school with, so something to think about. And making a list of people you want to visit at the show if you recognize anyone tabling is a good thing too. All right, was that fun? I had fun making that. That's everything. Make friends, follow each other's socials, trade with people, draw. Come on, cons are such a great opportunity to meet like-minded people, so take full advantage of the day. And for my question of the day, what was your favorite Comic-Con event and why? This is certainly not a ploy for me to figure out which ones I want to reply to next. Feel free to leave a comment down below on this video if you have any questions. I'm happy to make follow-up videos. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay smart, keep it fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care!